Now we want to be able to calculate what a certain percentage of a given number is. So an example, very simple example, what is 10% of 350? It's no secret to say that 10% of 350 is 35. So let's see how we'd work that out. There are two principal ways of doing this, and the way that you use will depend upon your personal preference for using calculations in this way and also on the information given in a question. So let's look at the first way. We're going to convert our percentage to a fraction. So 10% is 10 over 100. 10 over 100 we can convert into an easier fraction to work with, which is 1 over 10. So we then multiply the number we had at the beginning, the 350, by the fraction. So that's 1 over 10 times 350, and that equals 35. So 10% of 350 is 35, which is what we said it was. So we know that we've got the right answer. The other way of doing this is to convert the percentage to a decimal. Our percentage is 10%. To convert that to a decimal, we do 10 divided by 100, which is 0.10. We then multiply the number by the decimal, and that is 0.10 times 350, and that is equal to 35. Again, as before, 10% of 350 equals 35. The way that you choose to do this will depend upon whether you prefer working with fractions or whether you prefer working with decimals. It will also depend upon the particular numbers involved. Some fractions are easy to work with. A tenth or a half or a quarter, they're very straightforward. But working with, say, 33% or 37% is not so simple to do. There are a lot of percentage sums that you should be able to do in your head. To work out 10%, very simple. We divide by 10. To work out 1%, again, should be very straightforward to you. To work out 1%, 1% is 1 over 100, so we do a division by 100. Dividing by 10 and 100 is simply a matter of moving the decimal point along, so you should be able to do this in your head by now. To work out 50%, well, that's the same as dividing by 2. 50% is 50 over 100, which is a half. So remember that one, divide by 2. Here come the more difficult ones. But again, you should be able to do these. To work out 20%, well, just find out 10% and double it, because 20% is 2 lots of 10%. So work out 10% and double it. Or you could just divide by 5 as well. To work out 5%, 5% is a little bit trickier. Well, if you think about it, 5% is just half of 10%. So you first of all work out 10% and then you halve the result that you get. To work out 2.5%, 2.5%, well, that's just half of 5%, isn't it? So you can see we can work out quite a few of these percentages by doing those simple 10% or 50% and then halving them and halving them again, or by doubling them depending upon the work the question is. Let's look at a tricky one. What is 53% of 430? Well, that can't be done in our head or on a piece of paper. We need a calculator. No, not true. First of all, work out what 50% is. Divide 430 by 2 to get 215. Then let's work out what 1% is. Well, 1% we divide by 100, don't we? So 430 divided by 100 is 4.3. We don't want 1%, we want 3%. So 4.3 times 3 is 12.9. So 53% of 430 is 215 plus 12.9, which is 227.9. So that looked quite complicated at the beginning, and you might have thought, well, I can't possibly do that without a calculator. But we did. Finally, let's look at a couple of examples just to show how easy it is to work out percentages. So what is 23% of 255? Well, I'm going to turn my percentage into a decimal. 23 divided by 100 is 0.23. Multiply the 0.23 times 255, use a calculator, gives me 58.65. So 58.65 is 23% of 255. You can check in your head that that's approximately right, because, well, instead of 23%, let's do 20%. Instead of 255, do 250. So 20% of 250, 20% we would divide by 5. 250 divided by 5 is 50. So our calculator solution of 58.65 is in the right range, so we can be fairly confident we've done the sum correctly. One final example. What is 58% of 642? Well, first of all, turn the percentage into a decimal. So divide 58 by 100 to get 0.58. Multiply the number by that decimal to give us 0.58 times 642. And that gives us a solution of 372.36. We could look at that and see whether we can work out an approximate answer to check that we were right. I'll let you to do that yourself. You should by now have seen that working out percentages is not exactly that difficult. All we need to do is first of all convert our percentage into either a decimal or a fraction, and then multiply it by the number we want to find the percentage of. I would suggest to you it's a lot easier to do it that way than attempt to use the percentage button on your calculator, where you can, if you don't exactly understand how that percentage button works, make some quite serious mistakes and end up getting the wrong answer.